Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Go Premanande Haribo. Would you like to hear something else?
Haribo.
That's a good sign. That's all we do around here. And Jiva Goswami says that you can measure how advanced you're becoming in Krishna consciousness by measuring your desire to hear. So I'm going to read something from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is that right? Okay, so this is from chapter 9 of the Adi Lila. And this particular chapter describes the desire tree of devotional service. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual master of the entire world, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even a dog can swim across a great ocean. Purport. Sometimes it is to be seen that a dog can swim in the water for a few yards and then come back to shore. Here, however, it is stated that if a dog is blessed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can swim across an ocean. Similarly, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, placing himself in a helpless condition, states that he has no personal power, but by the desire of Lord Chaitanya, expressed through the Vaishnavas and the Madan Mohan Vigraha, it is possible for him to cross a transcendental ocean to present Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. When we say Madan Mohan Vigraha, those are the deities that he went and prayed to. Vigraha means form. So Madan Mohan Vigraha means he went to the deities and he asked for their permission to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Did they give it?
Yes.
How? Huh? A garland fell down. And just when he was praying, a garland fell from the deities and the Pujari brought it over and gave it to him. He became very happy. Consent. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is known as Gaura Hari. All glories to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya headed by Srivas Thakur. In order to fulfill all my desires, I remember their lotus feet. Purport. The author here continues to follow the same principles of worship of the Panchatattva that were described in the 7th chapter of the Adi Leela. Translation. I also remember the 6 Goswamis, Rupa, Sanatan, Pata Raghunath, Shri Jiva, Gopal Bhatta, and Das Raghunath. Purport. This is the process for writing transcendental literature. A sentimentalist who has no Vaishnava qualifications cannot produce transcendental writings. There are many fools who consider Krishna Lila to be a subject of art, or who write or paint pictures about the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis, sometimes depicting them in a manner practically obscene. These fools take pleasure in material sense gratification, but one who wants to make advancement in spiritual life must scrupulously avoid their literature. Unless one is a servant of Krishna and the Vaishnavas, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami presents himself to be in offering respects to Lord Chaitanya, his associates and his disciples, one should not attempt to write transcendental literature. It sounds like they approve. It is by the mercy of all these Vaishnavas and Gurus that I attempt to write about the pastimes and qualities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether I know it or know not, it is for self-purification that I write this book. Purport. This is the sum and substance of transcendental writing. One must be an authorized Vaishnava, humble and pure. One should write transcendental literature to purify oneself, not for credit. By writing about the pastimes of the Lord, one associates with the Lord directly. One should not ambitiously think, I shall become a great author, I shall be celebrated as a writer. These are material desires. One should attempt to write for self-purification. It may be published or it may not be published, but that does not matter. If one is actually sincere in writing, all his ambitions will be fulfilled. Whether one is known as a great author is incidental. One should not attempt to write transcendental literature for material name and fame. Text 6. I take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself is the tree of transcendental love of Krishna, its gardener and also the bestower and enjoyer of its fruits. 7. Lord Chaitanya thought, my name is Vishrambar, one who maintains the entire universe. Its meaning will be actualized if I can fill the whole world, the whole universe with love of Godhead. Thinking in this way, he accepted the duty of a planter and began to grow a garden in Navadvip. Thus the Lord brought the desire tree of devotional service to this earth and became its gardener. He sowed the seed and sprinkled upon it the water of his will. Purport. In many places, devotional service has been compared to a creeper. One has to sow the seed of the devotional creeper, Bhakti Lata, within his heart. As he regularly hears and chants, the seed will fructify and gradually grow into a mature plant, and then produce the fruit of devotional service, namely love of Godhead, which the gardener, Malakar, can then enjoy without impediments. 10. All glories to Sri Madhavendra Puri, the storehouse of all devotional service unto Krishna. He is a desire tree of devotional service, and it is in him that the seed of devotional service first fructified. Purport. Sri Madhavendra Puri, also known as Sri Madhavapuri, belonged to the disciplic succession from Madhvacharya and was a greatly celebrated sannyasi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the third disciplic descendant from Sri Madhavendra Puri. The process of worship in disciplic succession of Madhvacharya was full of ritualistic ceremonies with hardly a sign of love of Godhead. Sri Madhavendra Puri was the first person in that disciplic succession to exhibit the symptoms of love of Godhead and the first to write a poem beginning with the words, Ai Dina Dayadra Nath, O Supremely Merciful Personality of Godhead. In that poem is the seed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cultivation of love of Godhead. 11. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Sri Ishvara Puri, and then the gardener himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, became the main trunk of the tree of devotional service. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, in his Anubhashya, Sri Ishvarapuri was a resident of Kumarahat, where there is now a railroad station known as Kumarahat. Nearby there is another station named Halisarhara, which belongs to the Eastern Railway. This railway runs from the eastern section of Calcutta. Ishvarapuri appeared in a Brahmin family and was the most beloved disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri. In the last portion of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anjalila, it is stated, quote, at the last stage of his life, Sri Madhavendra Puri became an invalid and was completely unable to move. And Ishvarapuri so completely engaged himself in his service that he personally cleaned up his stool and urine. Always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and reminding Sri Madhavendra Puri about the pastimes of Lord Krishna in the last stages of his life, Ishvarapuri gave the best service among his disciples. Thus Madhavendra Puri, being very pleased with him, blessed him, saying, my dear boy, I can only pray to Krishna that he will be pleased with you. Thus Ishvarapuri, by the grace of his spiritual master, Sri Madhavendra Puri, became a great devotee in the ocean of love of Godhead. Unquote. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states in his Guru Vashtakam prayer, Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. It is by the mercy of the spiritual master that one becomes perfect, as vividly exemplified here. A Vaishnava is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but if he appears to be an invalid, this gives a chance to his disciples to serve him. Ishvarapuri pleased his spiritual master by service, and by the blessings of his spiritual master he became such a great personality that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as his spiritual master. Srila Ishvarapuri was the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but before initiating Lord Chaitanya, he went to Navadvip and lived for a few months in the house of Gopinath Acharya. At that time, Lord Chaitanya became acquainted with him, and it is understood that he served Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by reciting his book, Krishna Lilamrita. This is explained in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adikanda, chapter 11. In fact, there's a story in the Chaitanya Bhagavat about how Srila Ishvarapuri understood that Nimai Pandit was an extraordinary personality and was very attracted to him. Nimai Pandit was, to say the least, an extraordinary scholar. And Srila Ishvarapuri had written a book, and one day he asked Nimai Pandit, who is much junior in age to him, that please would you review this book and see if there are any discrepancies. And Nimai Pandit said, one who would find discrepancies in the book of an advanced Vaishnava is simply a fool. But he took the book and he looked it over, and then he found one verb that he thought could be changed. And so he suggested it to Srila Ishvarapuri. And Srila Ishvarapuri considered it overnight, and he came back, and after doing some research, he refuted what Nimai Pandit had said and showed him the evidence that actually the verb is placed correctly. And Nimai Pandit became very pleased, because although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was playing the part of the disciple of Ishvarapuri, an aspiring disciple, and therefore when he was defeated by his future spiritual master, he became very pleased by that. And not only that, in general, Krishna is controlled by his devotees and feels very pleased when he's actually defeated by his pure devotees. In fact, there's a story about Prahlad Maharaj. In his later years, when he was traveling, once he saw a man who was a Kshatriya, but he was dressed as a sannyasi. And this was an illegal thing. So, as the king, he became disturbed and he challenged that person. He said, you're dressing as a sannyasi, but you're actually a Kshatriya. And he challenged him to a fight. and he made a vow that I will fight until I defeat you. So the fight began, and after 10 days, Prahlad Maharaj was not able to defeat this fake sannyasi. And so he went back and he did his puja very carefully. And he offered a very beautiful, special garland to his deity. And then he came back to the battlefield to meet the opponent. And when he arrived there, he saw that his opponent was wearing the same garland. And then he realized actually it was the Lord who had appeared in that form just to engage him in that way. So he offered his obeisances and said, now I can understand who you are. Then he said, but I made a vow, and my vow will now be broken, because how can I defeat you? And the Lord replied, I'm always defeated by my devotee. That story comes in a commentary in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. To teach others by example how to be a faithful disciple of one's spiritual master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of God, had visited the birthplace of Ishvarapuri at Kumara Hut and collected some earth from his birth site. This he kept very carefully, and he used to eat a small portion of it daily. This is stated in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adikanda, chapter 17. It has now become customary for devotees following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go there and collect some earth from that place. Translation. By his inconceivable powers, the Lord became the gardener, the trunk, and the branches simultaneously. Paramanandapuri, Keshava Bharati, Brahmanandapuri, and Brahmanandaparati, Sri Vishnupuri, Keshavapuri, Krishnanandapuri, Sri Nishingatirtha, and Sukhanandapuri. These 9 sannyasi roots all sprouted from the trunk of the tree. Thus the tree stood steadfastly on the strength of these 9 roots. Purport. Paramanandapuri belonged to the Brahmana family of the Tirhut district of Uttar Pradesh. Madhavendra Puri was his spiritual master. In relationship with Madhavendra Puri, Paramananda Puri was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adikanda, there is the following statement. Among his sannyasi disciples, Ishvarapuri and Paramananda Puri were very dear to Madhavendra Puri. Thus Paramananda Puri, like Swarup Damodar, who was also a sannyasi, was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was his constant associate. When Lord Chaitanya accepted the renounced order, Paramananda Puri offered him the danda. Paramananda Puri was always engaged in meditation, and Sri Swarup was always engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered full respect to his spiritual master, Ishvarapuri, he similarly respected Paramananda Puri and Swarup Damodar. It is described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat Antyakanda, chapter 3, that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first saw Paramananda Puri, he made the following statements. Statement. My eyes, my mind, my religious activities, and my acceptance of sannyas order have all now become perfect, because today Madhavendra Puri is manifest before me in the form of Paramananda Puri.